Ah, there we are. Greetings, dear ones. It's hard to believe, but today is May 29th. We are ending May. It's so hard to believe since it still feels time-wise like we were at the beginning of the year. It's hard to believe we are halfway almost through the year. Hope you all are enjoying this little increase in heat. Um, it has necessitated for me to turn on the air conditioning, but we're cooling down in a few days, so who knows? The temperatures keep moving all over the place. I keep tabs on family members in other parts of the country and their weather, and it seems to be as roller coastery and up and down as ours has been in many ways. And I think we're going to have a lot more of the challenges with weather, being able to read weather, despite the fact that in many ways some of the satellites are giving us clearer information. But as many of you know, I'm tapped into quite a few different sources for scientific information, and they are having difficulty with the assessing and long term and even short term prediction of weather. And all of this is a reflection of a lot of the tumult that is going on in us as a species, as well as some of the radical changes that are happening in the earth and on the earth. Um, we're in such a strong and clear and large evolutionary leap that everything is up for change, not only in our culture, but on the earth itself, because this was designed for us to be very, very interconnected and interdependent with the earth, her cycles, rhythms, um, the plant life, animal life, insect life. And we kind of divorced ourselves from that relationship close to, I'd say we're going on 150 years or so or more. Actually, it's been a lot longer that the separation has began, but I would say that when the Industrial Revolution really kicked in is when that became clear that we were losing that relationship, or actually negating it or denying it and divorcing ourselves from the earth, instead using, abusing, taking advantage of, taking for granted, um, really seeing the earth, nature, wildlife as things rather than beings. Which brings us around to some of the ways in which the magical world, or our relationship with magic, was shifted and changed, no, many, many hundreds of years ago, if not thousands. But that at this point in time, given the very, very sophisticated and high frequency energetics that are coming in and onto the planet, in and through us for this evolutionary process, we have an opportunity to open those doors and those portals once again, not only to magical kingdoms, but to other existences that we have um, participated in, lived, explored, etc., over the eons of time that our soul has been in existence. So we're coming to a very, very exciting time where we have the ability to identify certain structures within our energy field and utilizing those structures to be able to rotate into and out of other realities. Physics, quantum physics, is almost daily reviewing and theorizing about other realities within this universe. And those who have been working in the energetic world for many years are very aware of how easily it is becoming to move through what is referred to as the veil and contact and communicate with beings, information, resources, sources beyond this very limited third dimensional reality that we exist in on what seems like a daily basis. So I'm encouraging everyone to really explore the possibility that you have been receiving information constantly, that there are a multitude of avenues and communication lines and methods by which you can receive direct information from your wider self, which has gleaned massive amounts of information, experiences throughout its tenure in this universe, and really allow for the fluidity between realities. Now, that becomes very, very difficult when we feel very, very insecure in our physical world. And certainly there has been many things over the past few years, topping it off with this constant threat of a virus on a daily basis. So for the work that I do and the perspective that I work from, my cosmology, that means on a very constant basis processing, going in through the psycho-emotional and the physio-energetic parts of us to explore what is at the heart of our fears. Yes, ostensibly there is an outside threat, but when we are deeply connected and anchored in who we are, not only in this life, but as a wider being, this merely becomes an exercise, an opportunity, an exploration. And each piece of ourself that we are able to get to know and identify and incorporate or reclaim into our system allows for a deeper connection, not merely with ourselves and our wider being, but to this greater sense of oneness and unity and beautiful variance and diversity and polarity which is present in this universe. And when we're sitting in and practice that awareness of who we truly are here and beyond, then the fear of, let's just say it, death becomes, it moves into a different relationship, much like it did many, many thousands of years ago when people had a different perspective on death. Was it always somewhat something to, let's say, have some fear about the unknown? Yes. but it was also recognized as simply part of the cycles and process of being alive and on this planet. We watched it occur constantly in nature. We watched it and observed it and had to participate with it in the deathing of plants and harvest and the recycle of then seeding and planting and growing and harvest again. That's what is at the basis of many of the uh, ancient ceremonies and celebrations that we now have kind of watered down and celebrate in a very materialistic way, be it Halloween, be it Easter. Yes, there is a 2,000-year-old overlay from the church to many of those celebrations, but there were many thousands of years prior to that that it was based in the natural world and based in the felt connection between ourselves, our ancestors, other um, guides, call them gods or goddesses, or nature beings. Many traditions around the world have continued that relationship, as well as many have been crushed or negated or actually destroyed. But those deeper lines of or lineage connections are still within us. And we can tune in deeper and connect to them once again. What is the purpose or the reason for doing so? Is not only to reestablish our deep and intimate relationship with the earth and nature and the cycles and rhythms and um, aspects of this earth, but which directly affects our physical, mental, emotional health, energetic, of spiritual, of course. But in so doing, it also allows for us to feel the safety within that constancy and within that um, other than our human rational mind's limitations. And when we allow for that, there is a lessening of fear. Where there is a lessening of fear, there is the potential to deepen in to who we are, not only here, but on the other levels of us, thereby enabling a profound and clear and felt sense of the divine within us, within all things, which radically changes our relationship to one another. That isn't to say that there isn't purpose in the polarities, that there isn't purpose in what appears to be negative, destructive, or even dark. For that is the other half of this universe. And just as in growing of food sources, you cannot have growth without having death, whether it's the plowing under, whether it's um, the usage or just the harvesting of the wheat or the grain or whatever it may be. That is a type of deathing. So there has to be a destruction in order to have growth, in order to have creation, and vice versa. They are part and parcel of one another. So when we're in great fear, we ward off or turn off or go into protective mode and create little bubbles or shells or shields or armoring around ourselves, thinking that that will help, or numbing ourselves, because that's the way we learn to do it as children. And it is only in acknowledging our maturity and taking that leap to a level of self responsibility that we all become much more liberated or free, and thereby in relation to one another in a very different way, and in relation to the earth in a very different way, and of course in relation to ourselves in a very different way. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. You are and were very purposeful in being here at this point in time for your own soul's purposes and for the mutual benefit, excuse me, of the whole. For this is something that has been done in a similar way, of course, within the universe. There are, just saw a headline again today in one of my science journals that I'm connected to that I haven't had a chance to read, but that we are, they're finding out that there are many more billions and billions of galaxies than we had even calculated previously. And within those billions and billions of galaxies, there are billions and billions and billions of star systems of trillions of planets. So to believe that we are the only ones like this or similar to this form, or that have had challenges of evolution before, is, in my mind, fairly ridiculous. What I see as very different in this case, called Earth, is the size of the leap in the very, very short period of time, which I believe is coming to a head this year. But I also, from all the information that I've received from my guidance, excuse me, they want to channel, and from all of the sources that I'm connected to, this is a societal reset. It is an evolutionary leap. It is a way of growing a species. It is a very potentially positive and utterly awe-inspiring process that we are all intricately involved in and purposely here to participate in. So it is always with the deepest of gratitude and honor that I meet you here in this form, or in courses and classes that I facilitate, and in one-on-one sessions, because I have the great gift or ability, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to see the magnificence of each one of you, as well as what would be considered the shadow and the perfection of that spectrum in your unique way. There is only one of you. There only has been one of you. There only always will be one of you. And for you to choose to be here in this process, which ain't easy, as you all know, is significant beyond words. However little aware, however greatly aware, however little work supposedly you are doing, however wide your work on yourself, It doesn't matter. Whatever you do, whatever you are, is perfect within that design at this point in time. Are there countless potentials for you to choose from, to become, and to connect to a wider experience of yourself? Absolutely. But there is no requirement. There is no mistake. There is no wrong in not doing so. I will say that it probably doesn't feel comfortable, but there is no judgment. You are a free soul in a free will universe. And you have choice in every moment, in every lifetime. So it is with deep gratitude that I meet you in any form, in any time, whether you're listening now or will be in the future. For time, when we're talking about energy and the evolution of this planet, is real but not real. In other words, we are experiencing on a daily basis a linear experience, which allows for a very confined, or some would say limited, experience to a physical, material experience. But through this way of connecting to your wider self or other existences, realities of you, time is not the same. It is very fluid. It can appear in this reality to be quick as an eye, quick as a blink. Things can change. When we're tapped in to a deeper level of us, of this universe. So those of you who are energetically sensitive have probably been noticing for the past several minutes the energetics coming in and beginning to set up the sacred geometrics for this particular container today, or what I like to refer to as a crucible, because there are so many factors, so many participants, so many different energetic resources and sources that are being made available to us. And that's one of the things that I will be focusing on in the upcoming course, is really assisting and guiding people in tapping in to those lines of communication, accessing and feeling the doors and portals within, so that you are able to be here in this plane in a wider, more expansive and assisted way. For we all have the ability to communicate and receive communication from sources and resources be it animal teachers, aspects of nature, weather, elements, the magical realms, other worlds, other kingdoms. There are many who speak to and receive information from the crystal kingdoms. I know of colleagues who are able to receive and speak to stone people, as the Native Americans have done for millennia, indigenous peoples around the world. We must return to what we knew, adding into what we know in the present, and opening to what we can know in and from the future. For when we drop into deep energetic states, time becomes a very different experience than in our daily, linear, one experience after the other, one moment after the other, one word after the other in our way of communicating. For these other sources and resources and beings do not necessarily communicate in linear language, English, Spanish, what have you, but instead communicate symbolically or in metaphor or in groupings of images, and they will utilize anything and everything within the library of you. In other words, all that you have ever heard, seen, felt, smelt, tasted, been exposed to, even when you were unaware. Hearing a movie in the background somewhere, or a conversation, or history. For this information comes in symbols, sounds, shapes, sensations in our body, songs, song title, lyrics, story, book, legend, myth, cartoon, memory, scenes from movies, characters from books, snippets of conversations. But we must be in a certain receptive mode to receive this information and open our own beyond the physical senses. So many of you may be feeling the depth of the energetics at this point. It's really simply allow yourself to sink down and in to your body, down and in to your being. So often we're unaware that we are, for the most part, out of our body. Our energy fields are pushed upward and experienced more from a will or doing place, rational mind place. Believing that if we can figure it out, if we know how, if we can just push through, if we can do enough, we will be safe and okay. This is the fallacy based on a defense system created in childhood to protect a young form of us that did not have the capacity to handle, understand, or experience what was going on around us. So yes, in that breath, allow yourself to sink. Allow your energy field to just sink downward. There is nothing you need do to make that happen, which is the wondrous thing of it. You merely allow your energy field and your wider self to do what they know how to do. Long before the defense system came into play, above and beyond our human fears and good. Sometimes it feels like you're filling up little by little. Sometimes it feels as if you are sitting more deeply on the chair or couch. Sometimes it feels like getting heavier. Sometimes it feels as if there is more substance to parts of your body that we are generally very unconscious or unfeeling of. Most often our backs are pushed upward into our upper shoulders, our neck, base of our skull. So many have challenges in that area. back issues, shoulder issues. Ask and allow that your back simply soften and drop down. Again, you cannot force this to happen, but you can allow it to occur. Sometimes it feels like molasses on a cool day, very, very slowly and gradually. You feel your back energetically and then even physically loosening, softening, or simply coming downward. Again, because we habitually hold it upward, it does take patience and allowing, a great deal of allowing. And so often in guided meditations or other types of meditation, we are taught or led to go up and out through our third eye to somewhere in our higher mind, as many call it. But that does leave out so very much of the rest of you. So I always encourage people to allow themselves to come down and in your own vessel, your own vehicle. For when you feel yourself seated, anchored deeply within you, a sense of security beyond what our mind may think can be experienced. Many traditions teach of this body being the temple of us. Why not take the opportunity to allow yourself to come into that temple, to allow yourself to feel the fullness of being inside you. For it is in that inner experience of you that all information can be obtained. All answers, all knowledge, which you have gleaned over eons as a soul. And the deep security and safety that is inherent in that inner wisdom, in that internal compass and library inhabiting your inner verse. Experiencing the belonging within the universe. The accompaniment and felt connections for once you have truly internally, physically, energetically experienced that depth, that breadth, that width, it enables you to put into perspective this reality, this experience, as merely one of thousands therefore bringing the freedom of choosing the potentials good. You may feel yourself way low down in your physicality, and yet at the same time maybe losing the boundaries or outline of your physical. Enabling you to even more deeply experience internally and if you feel sleepy or half in and out, or in a semi-dream state. That's fine. For you are drinking in allowing yourself to be filled with the experience of you. In a beyond human way, simultaneously with feeling your physical human vessel. Notice not only what you may be feeling, sensing, experiencing, but also notice what is not present in this state. Often people notice that there is no fear here. There is no pressure. There is no requirement. There is no demand. There is only being. Sensating, experiencing, more of you. And the wondrous thing is that you can revisit you at any time. And the more you practice, the more easily you have this sense of safety, security, peace, breadth, depth, and width of you enabling you to perceive and choose from a different place your actions, your thoughts, creating how you wish your life and world to be. And so as the incorporation of this experience, in other words, it being incorporated into your physical, human form, allow and sensate this kind of flow back and forth between the wider experience of you and the more narrow experience of your humanness. For they are both true, they are both there, present constantly. And when and as you physically move in and out of this state, physicality, less physicality, you are able to access information beyond the limits of the mind. So feel very, very gently this re-physicalization, knowing that you are both, and do not need to live separately or saving moments stolen to be able to go off and come back, but quite the contrary. The more you exercise and practice this, the more you are moving from this place throughout your day. It is a very slower pace, if you notice, but recently we have been given the opportunity to experience and live a slower pace. Good. So the energetics are becoming more familiar to this 3D reality. But you can take your time. You can even stay in this if you like. But I'm going to end this session with the reminder that I am here and available to assist you on one-on-one, connecting in more deeply. The upcoming course in how to more psycho-emotionally and physio-energetically face what's occurring in your daily life will be coming up. look for more information. And remember that one of the easiest ways to feel into you is to feel into the physicality of you and the earth itself. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being here on this planet at this time, and all that you do and all that you are, simply by being. So much love. Thank you. Be well in all ways. Bye-bye for now.